Hello, this is going to be on Chapter 23, the Digestive System, Objective 1. So we're going to take a look at Objective 1, which is know the functions of the digestive system. So there's going to be a lot of terminology in here that we're going to need to know. So let's go ahead and jump in. So here are the functions of the digestive system. Now we're going to take a look at each one of these individually, but you're really going to need to know the definitions of these 8 terms: ingestion, mastication, propulsion, mixing, secretion, digestion, absorption, and elimination. So this is pretty much what we're going to go over in Objective 1. Ingestion is just the process of taking in solid or liquid food into the stomach. So it doesn't matter whether it's liquid or solid. If it's going inside into the stomach, it's called ingestion. Normal route is going to be the oral cavity. Mastication, number 2 here, is the process by which the teeth chew the food in the mouth. So I've got some images here of you watching how that mandible bone is going to move up and down to physically break down the food. So mechanical breakdown, physical breakdown of the food into smaller pieces is mastication, and its job, anytime you break anything down into small pieces, it's increasing the surface area. Now keep in mind, mastication is not, you've got 2 possible options for breaking down food, right? You've got mechanical, which is the chewing, and then you've got chemical. Mastication is just the physical, mechanical breakdown of that food into smaller pieces. Propulsion. This is moving the food from one end of the digestive tract to the other. Keep in mind, your digestive system is one long continuous tube that runs mouth to anus. So it is getting that food from the mouth all the way to the end. It takes about 24 to 36 hours to get that food. This is how a lot of times scientists know, for example, forensic scientists know time of death. If they've known when the last meal was, when the person last ate, they can then backtrack it, find out where that food is in the digestive system, and kind of get a ballpark on, maybe time of death on that person. So swallowing, another name for swallowing is called deglutition. So make sure you know that term. That is moving the mass of food, also known as a bolus. You are going to need to know that, from the oral cavity into the esophagus. Keep in mind, as you move material through the digestive system, it does change names as it moves based on where it's located. So a bolus is oral cavity to the esophagus. Peristalsis, another definition you need to know. This is the movement of food through most of the digestive tract. It's the contraction of smooth muscle that is pushing the food from point A to point B, and this is how most of the material gets there. I mean, if you think about it, your small intestine, large intestine, some of them are going up, some of them are going sideways. So how does the food get from horizontally across the body? So it's going to be pushed from point A to point B by the contraction of smooth muscle around around your entire digestive system. Mass movement is contractions of material in some parts of the large intestine. They're just stronger peristaltic contractions in the circular muscles of the large parts of the transverse and descending colon. Transverse is the part of the large intestine that runs horizontally across the body, and then it's going to enter into the descending colon, which is then going to work its way out. Mass movement is responsible for the sudden distension of the rectum that triggers defecation. Defecation is eliminating the material out of the body. Mixing is the movement of food back and forth within the digestive tract to mix it with the digestive secretions to help break it down into smaller pieces. So this is really including a lot of the chemical digestion. So what you're doing is the small intestine especially is going to add in a lot of chemicals to the contents there to help break that food down even more. Well, you've got to stir it up. You've got to mix it up a little bit. So that's also what some of that smooth muscle is around the small intestine, is not just to propel it in one direction, but it's to kind of move it back and forth to kind of mix it up good. Secretion is as food moves through the digestive tract, secretions are added. So we just kind of mentioned chemical secretions from the small intestine, but you've got mucus. Keep in mind, this organ system is one that opens to the outside. Any organ system that opens to the outside is going to secrete mucus. This is for lubrication. Water is going to be added to help liquefy, especially in the large intestine. You're going to have buffers and enzymes to help speed up those chemical reactions. And you're going to have digestive enzymes as well, which help chemically break that food down. So a lot of secretions involved in getting food from the mouth all the way through the entire digestive system. That way you can actually get the nutrients that are provided in that food, and it just doesn't go straight out the body. Digestion, this is the breakdown of large organic molecules into their component parts. Hopefully you guys remember this. This was a huge part of chapter 2 that we mentioned, objective 11, if you remember back to A&P 1. So proteins, carbohydrates, and triglycerides, these are your three energy producing macromolecules here. Proteins, the building block are amino acids. Carbohydrates, the building block are monosaccharides such as glucose. And then triglycerides, the building blocks are fatty acids and glycerol. Now, if you remember lipids didn't have a standard building block, but for triglycerides, they are built from 3 fatty acid chains and 1 glycerol molecule. So we're going to break that apart through the digestive process. Like we've mentioned previously, there are 2 types of digestion. You've got mechanical digestion and chemical digestion. Mechanical is just the mixing of the food through chewing and the sloshing of it back and forth. Chemical digestion is the use of enzymes to help break that food down. And both of these occur. You need both of these in order to get your food digested. So here you can see an example of a protein and how that big long protein chain is broken up into all these little amino acids, one represented by a triangle, a square, a circle, connected by bonds. So these straight lines right here represent those bonds holding that protein together. So you've got a digestive enzyme called protease, which breaks down that protein molecule. It breaks those bonds right there. So what you're left with is amino acids. And then carbohydrates, for instance, starch, like a potato or something like that, is made up of many sugar molecules. So if you remember, these are all of your glucose molecules right here. They are held together by bonds as well. And then you've got an enzyme that is going to break those bonds down. They're using carbohydrates as an example here. Remember, anytime you have ACE as an ending, that's a type of enzyme, and it kind of gives you an idea what it's doing. And then you've got your triglyceride right here. Remember, it is a glycerol molecule with 3 fatty acid chains. So what the lipase is doing, that's your enzyme right there. What your lipase is doing is breaking that down into glycerol and your individual 3 fatty acids. Again, good to kind of remember some of this back from chapter 2. Also that absorption takes place in the digestive system. Once you've chemically and mechanically broken that hamburger down into its building blocks, into those individual amino acids, those sugars and those fatty acid chains and glycerol, you've got to get away, you have to have a way to get it from the digestive system into another organ system, such as the circulatory system or the lymphatic system. So the absorption is the movement of molecules out of the digestive tract into circulatory or lymphatic. And I want to make a note here, just something to, we're going to be talking about this as well. So you might as well kind of get used to it now. So you've got your polysaccharide here, and it's going to get broken down into its monosaccharides, glucose, which are going to enter, this right here is the epithelial cell of the small intestine. Remember, epithelial cells line the inside of hollow organs and body cavities. Well, this would be a hollow organ here, your small intestine. The lumen is where all that material is passing through. Notice it's ciliated right here. So we've got to get that sugar molecule, that monosaccharide, from the small intestine into, notice where it's going. It's going into the circulatory system. That's a biggie. You need to know that. Proteins, they get broken down into those amino acids. They're going to pass through that small intestine lining and they're going to go into the circulatory system. So know where sugars go and know where proteins go. However, your triglyceride, your fatty acids are going to get broken down into single monoglycerides and some free fatty acid chains. They're going to pass through the lining of the small intestine, and look where they go. They're going into the lymphatic system. So you definitely need to know where each of these three macromolecules goes when it leaves the digestive system. Elimination. This is the process by which waste products of digestion are removed through the body, known as defecation. So right here, we've got the rectum, and you're going to have parasympathetic and sympathetic control over, you're going to have autonomic control as well as voluntary control over the defecation process. And that's going to conclude objective 1.